This week in our collective heads, wanna put an old rumor to bed. Stereotype that you've all heard, how we're all just angry video game nerds. Most of us have actual jobs, kids and families and cats and dogs, yeah. This week in our collective heads, this week in our collective heads.
Welcome to This Week in Our Collective Heads. I'm Patrick. We're giving you the gaming news as we do every single week, whether it's solo or a duo or what have you, whatever configuration. We do gaming news. If you haven't checked us out before, every single week, every single Sunday, live Sunday morning, because it's fun. We want to keep you up to date as much as possible on video games. There's a lot of news that can come in and fall underneath the cracks. We want to give it to you in a really easily digestible format. We're in podcast form and video form. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere you want to be. At least we try to be. And we try to give you the why and like the reasoning behind different actions, because if you look at some of the news that comes out, you won't really see what's really happening or what could be happening underneath the surface. Let's start out like we do every single week with backwards compatible games, which we're starting out with Burnout Revenge. It's actually the only backwards compatible game tweeted out by Major Nelson. We start with these every single week because Xbox is putting out backwards compatible games, Xbox 360 games, some Xbox original games that you can play on your Xbox One. So we like to highlight these here. Burnout Revenge is a pretty good racing game. In comparison to other racing games, still not, I think Burnout Paradise is probably still remaining king in regards to Burnout games, but a fun game nonetheless. A great addition for backwards compatibility. I really like that they add more of these backwards compatible games, because not only do you get to keep playing a game, you don't have to plug in an old console. It's also nice from like from a historic standpoint. It's not that long ago. Burnout Paradise was 2011, I want to say. I'll have to double check. Burnout Revenge, sorry. But I like it because it's a way to leap back and play these games, get a little nostalgic for something that may have been a very impactful game for you, or maybe it's just a game you never got to play. Now you can play it, even if you didn't have an Xbox 360 at the time. Next up, we have some news about Steam Link, and it is right here. Steam Link, if you're not familiar with it, Steam Link is Steam Link is the idea of being able to play a PC game on another device. What it does is it actually streams your video to your TV, or in this case, a mobile device, and it will stream back your controller inputs back to your PC. The way this works is your PC has to be on, your PC is actually playing, the game is actually being run on your PC, and you're just inputting the controls somewhere else. Think of it like cloud computing, except the cloud's in your other room. Uses your Wi-Fi connection. So doing this on a mobile device is pretty cool. There's a lot of Bluetooth controllers that you could use to your phone. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I don't think there's a lot of games that lend themselves to doing this without that type of controller. I would say the best way to do that would still be to do it on a TV. In another room is still a better way to do it. I don't think that a lot of people are going to play this on mobile. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are games that people want to play with their mobile phone, but I can't really foresee that many games transcending it where you want to play a game remotely on your smartphone that are Steam games. I mean, the mobile devices don't lend themselves to that much room, so not just picture-wise, but if you're having your inputs on the screen, I mean, this could bring up people making games for Steam that you can then play on mobile. But we're talking a niche within a niche here. I don't know if that's really going to be that popular. I think it's interesting that they're doing it, though. Onto something I think that will be relatively popular is that Nintendo is going to bring out an adjustable charging stand, as they call it. So this is a charging stand for your Switch, because the Switch's power is underneath underneath the console, so you can't really stand it up while you charge it. This will allow you to do that, and it's actually a better kickstand than the one that comes with the Switch. It's more stable kickstand. We can talk about the design issues within the Switch to say why did they put the power on the underneath the console. I don't know the full details on that. I know there's other places that go into the hardware, Spawnwave and some others that will go into the hardware and talk about, not Spawnwave, I can't remember the name of the YouTube channel, but they'll go into the hardware as to why they're placed on the board in the way that they are. I don't know why they put the power on the bottom unless they thought that not very many people will want to charge it while they're playing it. I've rarely found a time when I needed to charge it while I was playing the console. If anything, I would like a dock like this that's open-faced, like this one is, that you can dock and it will then go onto your TV, because my Switch is actually warped slightly from the heat of my Switch being in the dock. I play probably about half of the time I have the Switch docked when I'm playing, which means that the heat, there's not enough ventilation, and the heat has warped my console just slightly. It's hardly noticeable, but I think that a more open design would lend itself. But then I guess you have dumb people asking, why can't I see it when it's docked, when it's supposed to be on this TV? Anyways, that's probably why they didn't do it. Probably why they have that thing closed off is just to remind people when it's plugged in, it will not. When it's plugged into that dock, that it won't have. The visuals will be on your TV and not on your Switch. This is not a dock. This is a charging stand. Just wanted to point that out because at first I thought, oh, maybe that'll be a kind of an option for me, but it's not. It's probably not something that I'm going to use. I think there's a lot of people who will use it though. People who use their Switch more than 3 hours a day. I can totally see that. I don't use my Switch longer than that unless I'm playing with it docked. So to me, it's not a buy for me, but there's definitely people out there who could use this and it'll work well for them. Up next in news, well, actually, no, I'm going to skip slightly ahead because I think that this will segue nicely. A Twitter user, a Reddit user, Wario64 screenshotted Walmart's store, and Walmart's store accidentally put up a ton of titles that should be coming out or possibly will be coming out should say have been announced or have not been announced yet, but could be announced at E3. Some of these titles we kind of knew about already, some we didn't. So reading off the list, and I will say there's a typo here. Just Cause 4, new Splinter Cell, Dragon Quest 2 for PS4 and Xbox One, Lego DC Villains, Borderlands 3, Rage 2, Gears of War 5, Forza Horizons 5, which I thought that they were only on 3, so maybe I'm probably wrong, and then Assassin's Creed, so new Assassin's Creed as well. The screenshot here the store very quickly had all of this taken down. So we're not sure if Walmart was putting these up in anticipation to have it ready to put live onto the site, or if similar to how journalists actually do this with obituaries for people they think may die, they'll create a link. They'll create I can't talk today. They'll basically do like a write-up for an obituary, or they'll create an article, and they won't link it, and then if the person dies, they'll be able to put up a link really quick, and all of a sudden they have this very easily timed article. So Walmart could have been doing that for speculative games, like I said, Borderlands 3 is something that Pitchford's been talking about for a long time. Rage 2 is something that Bethesda's been talking about, hinting at through their Twitter and some others. And as soon as this broke, kind of confirmed to a lot of people, okay, this may be actually happening. Rage is actually a game I did not get to play. I should have played. I mean, we're talking basically, take Borderlands and mix it with Doom and Quake, and that's what Rage is. I don't know why I didn't play this game. Apparently, well, I should say, one of the reasons was that I heard the story wasn't that great, but the visuals in this game are amazing. They're over the top. The game is relatively difficult if you and challenging. A lot of the shooting is basically all of your levels are relatively corridor-esque, or they may have some weaving and stuff. But the driving that you see there's not a lot of combat in the single player, but there is in the multiplayer. If this is coming out, if Rage 2 is coming out, I'll be excited, because Rage is a game that I didn't get to play. So if Rage 2 is indeed going to come out, I'm excited about that. And it's not unlike Bethesda to announce a game and then have it come out a few months later. Bethesda is one of the few companies that can do that, and I could definitely foresee them saying at E3, by the way, Rage 2 is a thing. It'll be out in September. I could totally see them doing that. And again, that would beat the Red Dead Redemption crowd, because everybody's going to try to release in September to get ahead of Red Dead Redemption. Rockstar is one of those. Rockstar is one of those developers that so many people play their games. I mean, Grand Theft Auto 4 is the highest selling game of all time for a reason. Sorry, Grand Theft Auto 5 is the highest selling game for a reason. It's dense, it's amazing, and yeah, I totally see Red Dead Redemption not doing as well, but taking up a lot of people's times. Other news in regards to Switch games, which they've announced some new games coming to Switch / ports. One of those being Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot, the Insane Trilogy, and it's going to be coming out on PC, Switch, and Xbox One. And it's actually going to be coming out June 29th. I have this on PS4. I like it. I don't know if I'm going to rebuy it for my Switch, because I don't know. I mean, I should say it probably will lend itself well to Switch. The short gameplay, I think, lends itself very well to handheld. We're now in a world where we can have these games on our handheld devices, and they are not that dumbed down. So I could see this being pretty good. Also, because of the over-the-top caricature, cartoony graphics, not only do I think it won't be too hard for the Switch to do. Yes, I know it's a remaster of 3 old games. That doesn't matter. I'm just talking about processing power for this here. But also the screen real estate. It's going to allow you to see what you're going after, see what your targets are. Sorry, it's hilarious. I love that dance. I think it's going to lend itself well, because the screen's not too busy. There's not too much going on on the screen that will distract you from being able to, have the Bandicoot do things. Like I said, I'm probably won't rebuy it, but if you don't have this on PS4, I could totally see picking this up on the Switch. Just remember, this is a pretty challenging game, and some people may be turned off by that. Speaking of throwback challenging games, though, Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon is coming out to PS4, Xbox, Steam, and Switch. So this is Castlevania-inspired platforming. Very happy this is coming out, because I love the old school Castlevania feel. This is, it's nostalgia, but it's challenging, but in a... I would say Castlevania was challenging, but in a legit way. Similarly to Dark Souls, similarly to, I would say, Mega Man, though some people don't think Mega Man's that challenging. I think that Castlevania and those games of that type are challenging because of their design, and they're not just purposely hard to beat just to be hard to beat, which is what Dark Souls gets crap about. And Dark Souls isn't hard to beat just to be hard to beat. It's difficult because it wants to challenge you. It wants you to do better. It wants you to get good. Speaking of that, we did the Dark Souls server test this weekend. Kevin and I did, and I thought that the game overall, the remaster looks great, except I feel like the gamma or something is kind of screwed up on it, because to when you're doing the screen settings, when it says, you know, make sure you can barely see this and you can see this. I'm in a dark room and I have to turn up the gamma to, I think it was like 1 or 2 less than the max in order to barely see the other item. And then when I started the game, everything seemed kind of really washed out. It wasn't as dark as it should have been for Dark Souls. It didn't look as dingy and I don't know, mysterious, because I didn't feel like the shadows were that deep because of the way that I did it. Maybe I should try it just on default and see if it still works. It probably still will. I had a lot of fun. I will say that because of the stress test, everyone's doing multiplayer all at the same time. You started right when multiplayer opens up in the game, and everyone is trying to do multiplayer, which is really nice if you want to be summoned. If you want to summon someone, it was a little challenging because everyone was summoning people so quickly, and being invaded happened a lot. So it'll say there's a lot more multiplayer than I'm used to in Dark Souls, but I had a lot of fun. I beat the gargoyles twice. Once in solo, once once in my camp, and then once in the others. I didn't get to see what happened afterwards, if it opened up my levels and let me play further on after the gargoyles, but no, sorry, I barely beat them. Sorry, I lied. I almost beat them. I didn't quite beat them in my solo. And in multiplayer, when they had summoned me, I helped to take down one, and then was brought back to my world. So I don't know if it opened up further than that. It doesn't matter. The test was really about multiplayer, about the network test and the server test. I think it did pretty well. From my understanding, I think some people were complaining online saying they couldn't summon anyone, and that's only because everyone was trying to summon people all at the same time, and their summon sign was still on the ground even though the person was already in another game. So boo-hoo, don't complain about that. It's not really worth it. Up next in our news, we'll talk about Bridge Crew. So Star Trek Bridge Crew VR game, which came out, I want to say a year and a half ago, had some pretty good reviews. I will say that I think that Artemis is a better game. Unfortunately, the visuals are just so much better than this than Artemis. But Artemis is basically like playing a Star Trek bridge with multiple people, but the visuals in this are so much better. So the news here, though, is that DLC is coming out to bring up to next gen, so you can play in the Enterprise D, or pretty sure that's the Enterprise D, ship. Happy about that. I like the uniforms. The next gen and Deep Space Nine was kind of my era of watching Star Trek, so really happy about that. I will totally check that out. I only played a little bit of Star Trek Bridge Crew, so this is going to get me to fire up my PlayStation VR, which I haven't played in months. There's not a lot to play on there, and I also feel like when I do play on it, I'm isolating myself from everything around me, which I know that's part of what VR is about. But if you have other people that you live with, like a spouse or someone like that, or a parent, sibling, I feel like you're shutting that person out when you do that. So I'd say time it when they're not around or when they're busy, so that way they don't feel like you're isolating yourself and not paying attention to them. That's just my 2 cents on that. So we talked about the Walmart thing already. The last thing in the news, which I skipped because I didn't want to rant. I knew I'd rant a little bit about this, so I skipped it to save it to the last bit here. So if you're still following me, we're going to talk about Nintendo talking about their. Sorry, I just had it in front of me. Nintendo announced more details about their paid online subscription service, and there are bits in here that people either are misunderstanding or they're missing the details that are lacking. Sometimes when you're not told specific details, you're not being told specific details for a reason. I'll get to that in just a second. So the release window will be September of this year. That's a year after they said the online service would start. Honestly, there's not a lot on Switch that I play multiplayer. I know you can play Mario Kart multiplayer, Splatoon, and so when this starts, anything you want to play multiplayer will require this subscription service. So right now, multiplayer on Splatoon and Mario Kart are free, but that's going to be part of this paid umbrella. Now, the pricing in this for 1 month is $3.99. 3 months is $7.99, and 12 months is $19.99. It's $20. If this is something that interests you at all, I would say do the 12-month, because it is $20. But that's $20 as opposed to, what is it, $50, $60 for PlayStation. I'm probably even wrong on that. I think it's more than that. I think it's, way more than that. No, something. Anyways, $20 to not worry about it. $20 to say, okay, I'm part of the subscription, and then when I want to play it, I don't have to hassle. To me, is worth it. Maybe it's just because I'm lazy, but if I want to play a multiplayer game, I don't want to have to worry about, did I renew my subscription? Did I put in a card? For $20, it's not that big of a deal. For a month is $4. Maybe you want to try it out for a month. If you like it, get the year. It's going to help you not have to worry about it. I'm going to jump ahead again because I want to save the rant for later. Cloud saves. Cloud saves should have been a thing since the beginning. This should not be part of the paid umbrella. I think this is crap that they're putting this under the paid umbrella, but again, the subscription isn't that much. So again, do yourself a favor, get the cloud saves. That way, if your Switch breaks or if you or whatever happens to it, then you can, get your backups, because otherwise there's really no way to do it right now. The current free service will go away in September. I think I talked about that already. So if you're playing Mario Kart or anything like that right now, that is going to go away. So the online app, the Switch online app on your smartphone, will require the paid subscription. This is the online app that allows Switch owners to do voice chat, invite friends to play, and all of that. Again, I think it's dumb that this is separate from the Switch, but it's going to require you to have the app on your phone to do the voice chat. So then you'll have to be wired into your phone and the Switch. Stupid. We've talked about that before. This is something we knew, but anyways, the other bit. This is the part that's confusing people. Classic games. A compilation of classic games will be added monthly to play. They have stated also the Nintendo Virtual Console will not be on the Switch. They're not going to be doing Virtual Console on the Switch. The service will launch with 20 games, new games added regularly, and honestly, the titles right off the bat, these are NES titles. They said Super Nintendo games are still under construction. Complete stupid bullshit on that. There's no reason why this should have been delayed this long. I would understand if the Nintendo 64 and GameCube are still being worked on. NES and SNES, there's no reason you can't have this on there now. The Super Nintendo Classic proves that, and hackers have hacked the Switch and are playing Super Nintendo games on it too. So there's no reason for that. The list does include Donkey Kong, Mario, Super Mario, because there's Mario and Super Mario, the original. Dr. Mario, Legend of Zelda, Super Mario 3. So there's already some great games to play there. But the confusing part here that people are not connecting all the dots on, and I'm not saying this is that they're doing this on purpose, but what it appears to be, because they're backtracking on some of the things they're saying, they're not clarifying some things. It looks like their subscription service will almost be like a Netflix for classic games, because paying the subscription fee allows you access to these, and then they'll add more regularly. I would say just like with from what they said previously, they said that they would be changing out games. They said that previously. So I think that, in my opinion, what I think is going to happen is it's going to launch. You're going to have games that are on there. They're going to have games that they remove regularly as well. You don't own any of these games. If your subscription lapses, you don't get to play any of these games. If they haven't announced that yet, but that's how it is on PlayStation. So I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to be on here. There's a lot of PlayStation games that if you do not have the service anymore, you no longer can play the game. The game does not belong to you. It's great right now. It is fantastic right now. But as soon as those servers shut down, you no longer have access to it. Similarly with this, they can say, oh, Mario 3, we're going to put that in the back. We're going to put something else out now. We're going to put Mario 2 or Zelda 2 or something. And people won't be able to play Mario 3. That is a possibility. I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen, but that's a possibility. The other thing here is that we're not seeing any notes at all on, can I purchase these games for myself, for me to keep on my Switch, as opposed to just have a subscription model. Let's say you decide, I don't want to pay the $20 a year, which honestly isn't very much. But let's say you say, hey, I don't want to pay $20 a year. I just want these couple games. Can I just give you cash for those? There's no system right now that will allow for that. The details that they've given have hinted at either they're going to go away, or they'll allow you to purchase it when it's available. That's what they previously said. Now they're giving interviews that is not clarifying their previous statements at all, and it's leaving out these details. So a lot of people I've seen on the internet not following this are saying, well, no, they're just going to have these out, but they're not going to call it Virtual Console. But that's not what they said before, and they're not restating anything now. If you tell me something a year ago, and then you give me new details now, but new details that don't contradict what you said before, I'm gonna run with what you said before until I hear otherwise. Nintendo's not telling us otherwise. Nintendo is not telling us, hey, that thing we told you before, we're not going to do that. We're going to do something else. If they're not telling me that, I'm gonna lean on the side of we're still gonna run with the business model they already put forward. I'm not saying there's a conspiracy. I'm not saying that they're doing anything janky. I'm just saying that Nintendo is not giving us all the details. So all in total, I'm basically saying Nintendo gave us details last year saying that the games would be rotating during your subscription. So every month you would have different games that rotate in and out, and you could choose to purchase those before the end of the month. Now they're saying classic games will be on there and the Virtual Console won't. They're not saying that rotation won't happen. They're not saying that they will or will not give us the option to purchase the game outside of the subscription. So again, lacking details, which this is why we do this show. There are pieces of details floating around, and they're not all together. So I'm hoping this is not true. Or I'm hoping that the subscription gives you access to purchase the game, and it's Virtual Console by another name, right? So let's say there's 20 games that are available. You can purchase the one that you want and go about your life, and you're happy. What I'm concerned about, though, is they've not restated that portion, so I'm concerned that it will just be a Netflix style subscription for your video games on your Switch for classic games. And if it's that, I'm pretty disappointed, and I would not condone hacking, but there are emulators that can do all of this on your Switch right now. It's an exploit that I won't go into details. Like I said, I won't go into details here, but there's an exploit now that you can hack your Switch to throw some emulators on it and play some emulated games. So if you want to play Super Mario 3, if you want to play, I think they're up to N64, but I know NES and SNES are definite. So if you want to play Chrono Trigger, you can do it. If you want to play Super Star Wars, you can do it. They're games that may or may not show up on the sorry, not Virtual Console. I almost said Virtual Console. Games that may or may not show up on their subscription service, you could be playing on your Switch if you hacked it. So anyways, I didn't mean to rant too much about that, but it just bothers me. We're not getting all of the details. We're getting details, but if you're like us, then you remember the details you said before. and it just puts a bad taste in my mouth. Kind of like when Xbox said you have to be plugged into the internet to use the Xbox One, and then they rolled that back and said, oh, okay, we're not going to do that. And it put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths in regards to conveyance of ideas. That being said, $20. Yeah, I'll check it out. It's $20 for a year. $20 for a year. Hulu's what, 8, 11 if you don't want commercials. I think Netflix HD 4K I think is $14 a month. So $20 a year, that's nothing to be able to jump in and play some of these games. Hopefully I'll be able to keep them. If you give me the price tag every month and say, do you want this game, I'm going to throw money at you. So hopefully that's what this is. Hopefully this is Virtual Console put behind a subscription paywall. Anyways, I'll stop my rant there. Let me know in the comments what you think about Nintendo's subscription model. If you think that it is indeed Virtual Console by another name under a subscription model, or if you think that something more shady is going on. Personally, I hope these games are open to the public. Maybe it's a discount if you have the subscription. I think that's what we said about a year ago. I would hope for that, so anyone can buy the games, but if you have a subscription, you get a discount, or you get to play them first. So that's my thoughts on it. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on Nintendo's Virtual Console. We'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks for watching This Week in Our Collective Heads. Subscribe over here and click the bell, and that way you'll know about any new videos that we put up, because we put up a lot of gameplay, a lot of stories from games and stuff like that, and gameplay is down here.
Yeah, and you got more editorials and news stuff down here. Check it out.